Less than an hour from Phoenix, Arizona is a staggeringly scenic off-road loop, one that will take you through a sea of saguaro cactus before ascending up and over a rugged mountain pass, on the other side of which you will be greeted by stunningly scenic vistas. Continuing further, you'll find yourself on the edge of a river at the bottom of a canyon with rocks formed 1.6 billion years ago. All this before a final stunning climb points you back towards civilization. And along the way are opportunities for epic dispersed camping overlooking stunning desert vistas. And once the sun goes down, the stargazing here is second to none, as the skies are almost completely devoid of light pollution. This is a loop you simply must experience in order to fully appreciate. Well, here we are in the Arizona desert. You can see behind us, we've got these mountains, and our aim for this trip is to climb to the top of those mountains, get to the other side, find a spot to camp, and then tomorrow we will return, basically doing a loop from Phoenix all the way up through the mountains, down another trail, and back into Phoenix. And what's just wild to me is that right now we're only about 40 minutes away from the city, and we're just out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. So to be that far removed from the city in such a short period of time is awesome. And this is a really exciting day for Christina and I. It's been in the works for years. As you can see behind us, we've got our LX470 here with us. And if you watched our previous video, then you kind of know the backstory and what happened. But I'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. And the Cliff Notes version is that, well, we drove this down just a couple of days ago, and we are permanently moving the Lexus here to Arizona so that we have a vehicle in the Southwest and we've got a base camp for adventure. So it's really exciting for us. We'll explain more as we go, but right now, we're just gonna jump in the truck, start heading up the mountain, and see what we see out in the desert today. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. We're so excited to be here. Let's go. Saguaro cactus were everywhere, towering over this part of the trail. But as we began to climb, they abruptly disappeared. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the landscape switched from brown to green. A few dried creek crossings helped explain this sudden change in vegetation. And as we neared the summit, the trail got a bit rougher, slowing our pace. Well, we just stopped to take a break. We've been on the trail for maybe about 45 minutes or an hour, just taking our time and enjoying the views. which are beautiful up here. And we stopped at this little overlook that I think is about as high in elevation as we're gonna get, but you can see the valley below us here. And we've just been steadily climbing up this mountain for the better part of at least a half an hour, and the views just keep getting better and better. The road itself, the trail, is pretty mild. It's beautiful, but it's pretty mild, nothing super technical. It is a little bit rocky, so just if you come up here, plan on it being a little bit bumpy and a little bit slow going in places, but man, it is just beautiful up here. So we're gonna stop and enjoy the scenery and eat a little bit of lunch before we continue heading up the mountain. And I've got a couple campsites marked up there. So that's gonna be our next order of business, is finding a place to set up camp. But for now, just gonna soak in these views. Sitting here eating lunch with this view, it just blows my mind that there are trails this close to Phoenix. And I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Onyx Off-Road, because I used Onyx to find this trail. In fact, when we got to Phoenix, one of the first things that I did was try and figure out where we were going to go. And I opened up Onyx Off-Road, and I was honestly blown away by how many trails there were close to Phoenix and in Arizona, which makes me really excited because there's going to be so many areas for us to explore. And when you're not familiar with an area, something like Onyx Off-Road is super helpful. They have all of these trails and reviews and pictures and difficulty ratings and elevation change. It just takes so much of the guessing and the stress out of planning a trip out into the backcountry. So if you are looking for a mapping software, or you're curious to try Onyx for yourself, I do have a discount code in the description of this video that can get you 20% off a subscription of your own. So anyway, we've wrapped up lunch, so I think it's time to hit the trail, get the final climb done to the top of the 4 peaks, and find a spot to camp.
We are just coming up on the first spot that Jeff marked on the map. Pretty rocky. There's a fire ring. The view is awesome. While I'm not sure about the size of the camp spot, I mean, this view here is awesome. If Jeff has a couple other spots marked, I think we should check those out as well. settled up on the next camp spot, and this one definitely has an awesome view, like front row to the lake, and fairly level, definitely not as rocky as the last one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a little bit close to the road, but it's at least not right on the road. I think a couple of these ones we can actually, there's one right down there. That's another one that I had marked, but that one's is right on the
That's
road
right on the
pretty
road.
much. So this one's a little bit further off, which is nice. I mean, the view is spectacular up here. And
Yeah, I like the view.
the further down we go, the more elevation we lose. I mean, it's kind of trivial, but at the same time, the higher up we are, the more that lake, the more that reservoir we're going to get. So I feel pretty good about this one. What do you think? Should we call this camp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say this one's a winner.
Well, camp is all set up, and man, what a campsite this is. You can see down below us here, we have Theodore Roosevelt Lake, and then beyond that to the east, we have some mesas and some buttes and just the desert landscape. It's just giving us an amazing backdrop. And then back behind me here is the Four Peaks Wilderness, and that is the mountain area that we crested and came over to get to where we are right now. And speaking of the Four Peaks, that is also the name of this trail that we're on. So if you're curious where we are, this is the Four Peaks Trail, and it runs from west to east across these mountains through the Tonto National Forest. But yeah, it's just such a great spot. We couldn't have asked for anything better for this sort of test run, this shakedown run. But the funny thing is, this shakedown is like no other shakedown we've ever done, because it's not new stuff, it's old stuff, and some of it's really old stuff, things we haven't used for years. And that's because when we packed up the Lexus and drove this down from Seattle, we basically brought all of our spares, all of our old stuff. So we got like old backpacking camp chairs, we've got a 20-year-old Coleman stove, etc., etc. And so we have to kind of hope that everything works and remember how everything works, because it's been so long since we've used some of this gear. But it's also really nice because it feels like all of this stuff is getting a second lease on life. Anyway, we've got a couple hours to go until the sun sets, and we're just gonna enjoy these views before we get dinner going, get a fire going, do all that, and just relax and enjoy our night. Maybe get some astrophotography in tonight too. We'll see what the moon is like. And I'm also super excited for tomorrow, because rather than just run this trail back to Phoenix, we're gonna take it to the end, we're gonna hit the highway for a little bit, and then our return trip is gonna be through the Apache Trail. An Apache Trail is something I've wanted to run for a very long time, but it's been closed. I think it's been closed for the last handful of years, and it just reopened earlier in 2024. So we're gonna see what that's like on the way back, and we'll take you along for that on this grand loop from Phoenix all the way around back to Phoenix. So anyway, I guess all that's left to do now is crack open a drink, sit down. Christine and I can enjoy these views. Well, the sun has completely gone down and we just got a fire going. It definitely got a lot colder once the sun went down, and case in point, Christine is wearing her uniform.
Yep, silk bag.
She's got that silk bag on, but this is just blowing our minds because this is basically the equivalent of summer camping in the Northwest. At the end of December, we were camped at 65-degree weather at 3,500 feet with the t-shirts on, and it just doesn't get any better than this. It kind of feels like we're cheating, like this is some kind of cheat code, but this is, you know, what it takes to get Christine to camp with me in the winter. This is all it took. We just had to take a second vehicle, bring it down to Arizona with all our camping gear, buy a house, and now my wife will camp with me in the winter. That's all it took. Just you know, just little bits there. Good morning. Treated to a beautiful desert sunrise this morning up over the lake, and just made a little bit of coffee with this coffee I found. This is maybe the closest thing to artisanal instant coffee that I've ever found. It's from Peixoto. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's in Chandler, and it's actually, as far as instant coffee goes, pretty good. But last night was an interesting one. I mentioned this was kind of a test run using some of our old gear, and some of that gear let us down a little bit in terms of sleeping bags, and there's some things we didn't bring in terms of like layering for warmth. Wasn't expecting it to get down to the mid-30s, but it did. So we were very thankful that the sun came up this morning. I'll just put it that way. But we're just going to break down camp and hit the end of this trail and then hit pavement for a little bit, and then excited to check out Apache Trail as we loop on back. So stick around for that. Should be a fun morning.
I've always dirtied everything that I found. This ain't no difference, so look at you now. And baby, cut yourself loose. Save all the things that I said that night. Playing it cool, but I never got it right. Baby, cut yourself loose.
Well, after about 10 miles on the highway, we just pulled off and we're on the eastern side of the Apache Trail where it begins, I think. So we're about to start that, and just pulled off at this scenic overlook. Got a great view of the Theodore Roosevelt Dam here, as well as this pretty cool bridge here. This bridge spans a little more than 1,000 feet and sits 300 feet above the water. It also carries the distinction of being the longest two-lane, single-span steel arch bridge in North America, and perhaps because of this, it's considered one of the top 12 outstanding bridges in the nation, along with the Golden Gate and Brooklyn bridges, which seems a little odd to me, but, well, I don't know my bridges, so I guess we'll just have to trust the sign on this one. Pretty nice stop, but excited to get back off pavement and see what the Apache Trail has going for it.
I was mesmerized by your eyes. You keep me up every night. You keep me up every night. There ain't no satisfaction for me now. There ain't no satisfaction for me now. There ain't no satisfaction for me now. Now that you're gone.
From Theodore Roosevelt Lake, the Apache Trail begins with a beautiful stretch of road that winds its way alongside the Salt River, while alternating between dirt and pavement.
Now you know everything that I am. I'm caught in the pond, no backup plan. So baby, cut yourself loose. Cause a little trouble, don't shed a tear. Keep that sunny smile from ear to ear. And baby, cut yourself loose.
A few miles later, and the trail passes by Apache Lake before splitting off from the river and beginning a steep ascent up and out of the canyon, where somehow the views get even more impressive.
Satisfaction for me now. Bring the satisfaction for me now. Now that you're gone, now that you're gone. Bring the satisfaction for me now. Bring the satisfaction for me now. Bring the satisfaction for me now. Now that you're gone, now that you're gone, now that you're gone.
Well, we just wrapped up the majority of the Apache Trail, or at least the unpaved portion of it. We're about to hit pavement, and then that will take us down into Tortilla Flats and back to Phoenix. But what an incredible loop between the Four Peaks Trail and then coming back on the Apache Trail. The scenery is just spectacular, especially on the Apache Trail. The scenery was just beautiful. Super successful trip. Christine and I had a blast. So great to get the Lexus out down in Arizona. And yeah, just can't wait to do more of this. So I think we're gonna call it here, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one, probably back in Washington, where it will be substantially colder and I'll probably be camping in the snow. But you know, variety's the spice of life, or something like that. Anyway, see you in the next one.